Cool. We'll start off with meditation. So get yourself comfortable and um, sitting in a way where you can be alert and present, but also relaxed and comfortable. And typically, that means having your spine um, straight and the tip of your head moving towards the the sky, and the rest of your body sort of flopping, relaxing. And inviting you to close your eyes. And actually, I'm just going to get the timer going just so that we can track this. Just be a second. Okay, cool. Great. So close your eyes. And we're going to take some deep diaphragmatic breaths. So breathing in through the nose, filling up your chest, and breathing down into your belly. Nice full breath without getting uncomfortable, just as full as you can. And then I want you to make that out breath go really slowly out without it being uncomfortable, just like a longer out breath. And keep cycling with this breathing. And what I want to get you to try and do is on the out breath, I want you to make like a like a whispering sound in the back of your throat on the out breath, like a so in through the nose, filling up the body, filling up the lungs, filling up the belly, holding that breath for a few seconds, and then a nice long out breath with the raspy sound in the back of our throat, making it go longer. Straight spine, tip of the head towards the ceiling, rest of the body's relaxed. And our awareness is centered in the sensation of this breath moving through our body, the sensation of our spine stretching out and reaching up, the sensation of our body dropping down and relaxing. And that sensation and that focus on the breath is going to be an anchor through the whole meditation. And then I want you to imagine that as well as oxygen coming through your body, imagine that that oxygen is also a beautiful, benevolent, loving energy. So I'm bringing that beautiful, benevolent, loving energy into my body. And when it fills up my lungs, I want you to feel as though it's filling up your heart with that loving energy. And as it presses into your belly, I want you to feel as though that it's saturating deep down into your belly. And then on the out breath, not a sense that that love is diminishing from your body, but that it's become so full that there's an overflow, and the overflow is going out in all directions. Breathing in love through the nose, saturating and filling up the heart, saturating and filling up our gut, getting so full that it then overflows outwards in all directions, maintaining body awareness, maintaining the breathing. And I just want you to sit with this practice for another minute without any instruction from me. want you to continue that breathing, continue that awareness, continue that posture. And what we're going to bring into it is the image of our loved one, of our partner. And if at any point that becomes uncomfortable for you, come back to yourself for as long as you need to until you feel resourced again, and then re-invite the image of your partner. But what I want you to see in the image of your partner is I want you to see them in their absolute best light. It's like imagining as though that the energy of life itself has come and stripped them of all of their anything dark inside of them, and has just illuminated their absolute highest and best version of themselves. And that you're seeing that. You're seeing them happy. You're seeing them healthy, clear, and present. You're seeing them showering unconditional love towards you, smiling. You're seeing their true self in their eyes, not shying away from you. And then I want you to imagine that as you're doing this breathing and seeing this image, that they're actually doing it with you. And physically, my eyes are closed, but in the visualization, my partner and I are looking at each other. And that as I breathe in, they're actually breathing out. And their overflow of love is coming to me, and I'm breathing it in, and it's filling up my heart and my belly, saturating my being to the point of overflow, at which point I share it back with them, and they're breathing in that extra love. And that this reciprocal, unconditional love and light is flowing freely in a supportive way. And just breathing and feeling and seeing this image for another minute. And then imagine that as you do this, imagine that your hands reach out to each other, and the breathing and the posture and the image stays the same, but you're seeing your hands reaching out to each other in this image. And that you're connected physically through your hands, and you're connected through your eyes, and that you're connected through your breath, and that you're exchanging love, and it's overflowing and expanding between you. And then I want you to imagine that there's a knowingness without words between you two, that that connection, that unconditional exchange of love, that pure, untainted aspect of each other is always already there, and that we can trust it, and that it's safe and available and requires no effort. And that we can trust that we can let go of the image, we can let go of the breathing, the posture, the hand hold, and then it will always be available for us whenever we need it. And then I want you to bring your attention away from the image and to allow your breathing to be natural without doing any particular form of breathing. And relax your posture if you want. Just feel what it feels like within your own self in this moment after having done that practice. And then open your eyes and see whatever's in front of you, the screen, the room, your own hands, and just notice what it's like in this moment. There's no right or wrong answer. We're just paying attention to it. So we'll move on from the practice now, and just a reminder that to keep your video and audio off and take down notes if you have any questions for later. And there's going to be some questions and some inquiry that I present to you guys. And you're welcome to, like, if you are there with your partner, to talk about it with your partner, as long as it's still on mute and the camera's off. But I'll also send out the recording because you might need more time. You might want to do some of these practices and questions and inquiries away from this meeting. So starting off with just the word conscious. And what I like to do is offer an understanding or a new definition or a way of describing it that I think is helpful in the context of what we're doing here. So starting off, conscious means I'm aware in this moment intentionally, and I know it. So the intentionally part's cool because I can bring my attention as a choice. It's like a volume switch. And you could almost think of it like, rather than off and on, think of it like, oh, I've noticed like I'm not really present right now. I'm not really being intentional. I'm not aware of what's happening right now. So you can think of it like a volume switch. First thing is turning up the volume and getting present with what is so, not necessarily like how I want it to be. I want to focus on that, but I want to focus on what is. And that might include desires and doubts and stuff like that, but just being aware of it as a phenomena rather than identifying with it. And so the first point for that is from the skin in. So I just notice as I'm turning up the volume, what's the story in my mind? What's the feeling? And what's the pull? Like I use the word need, we could use desire, we could use anything, but it's like there's something that my being is like calling out for. Sometimes it feels like it's screaming out. It's just like, I just need. And so we're raising conscious awareness on story, emotions, and needs inside of me first. And so in this moment, I invite you to do that. Just notice in this sort of neutral moment, what's there for me? What's my story? What emotions present? What need might I have? And feel free to write something down there. And then from the skin out, once I got a sense of that, I'm checking, okay, so on a sensory level, what's actually happening? Sitting in a room, looking at a computer, there's either someone with me or there isn't. Just looking around and checking out where I actually am in the present moment, not what I'm thinking. And what's the vibe in the space? Aside from what's happening inside from me, when I tune into the space around me, what's the vibe? What's the general vibe like in the atmosphere? And you might not even have like a specific answer to that, but I'm just turning up the volume, putting my attention, what's the vibe in the room? Feel free to write stuff down that you notice. And then needs, which is an interesting one from the skin out, is intuitively, because I can't know what other people want, what does it seem like the need of the moment is? What does it seem like the need of the moment is? So for me, it feels like the need of the moment is to speak into this, that there's people interested in watching and showing up. It's the need of the moment. So I'm just assessing what it seems like. Doing that intentionally. I know I'm doing that. And then I want to introduce this idea that you might be familiar with. And it's just a way of thinking about consciousness itself in the way that I'm talking about it. And it's called the Johari window. And you might have seen it before. But basically, we're looking at these different areas of knowledge and we're understanding them. So here it will be really great to have a pen and paper, and you might need to have a bit of banter with your partner if they're there. If they're not, it doesn't matter. But we're just looking at, firstly, in the open window, what is it that is known to me and known to my partner? And again, like you could do a really exhaustive list, but just write a few things down, just a few examples of something that I believe that I know about myself that my partner also knows about me. Just even one, two, or three things. And then I want you to think about for a moment what's not known to me, but what might be known to my partner. And that might seem abstract. How do I know what my partner knows that I don't know? You might often hear things that your partner's telling you about you that you don't agree with. You don't see that in yourself. And just opening your mind to the fact that there has to be heaps of stuff that they know about you that you don't know about yourself, because they have a different perspective to you. They're seeing from a different angle. Doesn't matter what I do, if I put one camera on that side of the room and one camera on that side of the room, and then I compare the videos, they're going to have different information that the other one doesn't have. So just acknowledging that, and write down anything that comes to mind for that section. And then we want to look into what is known to me about myself that my partner doesn't know. What do I know that my partner doesn't know? Let's write a few things down. And then the last category is what's unknown. What are the things that I might not know and they might know that we can't ever know, or that we don't yet know? And just write some ideas down. And then I want you to do the exact same thing, but we're going to take a guess at what it would be for my partner. So what do I think is known by them about themselves that I also know? And write a couple of things. What do we both know about my partner? And then about my partner, what do I feel like I know about them, but that they don't know? They don't realize it, they don't see it. Let's write some things down. What do I reckon that my partner might know something about that I don't know about them? There might be some things I suspect that I'm really unclear on about them, but I know that they must know that. And the last one, we'll be the same from the previous exercise because it's what you both don't know. And I would encourage you, we won't do it right now, but at some point to have a conversation where you're sharing your answers with your partner. And in the Q&A, I might get some of you to start to share some of what you came up with as well, just to generate some discussion. So why would we do all that? Well, first of all, we're just acknowledging there's elements of uncertainty here. So there's some humility and bringing attention to the fact that maybe I don't fully know, and maybe they don't fully know. And we're really just looking through two lenses of perception. So being conscious isn't about knowing everything. It's about being really clear and present to what is and what's true about what is. And on a fundamental level, we can see there's a limitation in that. And that so we have to respect that we're both actually in the same situation. We both have a Johari window that we're looking through, and we both have stuff that we do know and we don't know. There's stuff that we are perceiving incorrectly as well. So there's a bunch of stuff that both of us don't actually know, and we might think we do. So the next point is, if we're looking at being a conscious couple, we're raising the volume on how conscious we are as a couple, then something that we really overlook is what I really want. And this might seem weird to say. This might actually seem but that's what we're arguing about. Or that's what I'm asking for all the time. Or that's what I'm thinking in my mind all the time. What do I actually want? But I want you to think a little bit deeper. So the goal means what I actually really want. And if we bring it back to the previous one, like about conscious means I'm aware in this moment, right? So in this moment, if I am needing, like I might think to myself, let's just have an example of, I want her to, I want her to not leave her towel on the ground, or I want him to float your boat there. I'm not saying it's either way in your relationship, whatever floats your boat. But let's just say it's something like that. So what I would encourage you to think about is, if I'm getting to the point where I need to say something about that, what do I actually want? What do I really, really want? And it might seem like I'm just getting you to acknowledge there's layers here. I want the towel to not be on the ground. That seems obvious. I might also want the other person to hear me. I might also want to stay calm. I might also want to be connected. I might want to be, and if we come right down, we get to this point of, I want to be happy. I want to be free from suffering, and I want to be happy. Underneath everything, right? Inside of my own heart, I want to be free from suffering and I want to be happy. And every single thing I ever do, ever think, ever say is a rightly or wrongly, perfect or imperfect, successful or unsuccessful, helpful or unhelpful. It is my conditioned mechanism for trying to have that. And that means that's the same for them. And so we want to align on this fact that primarily we're the same in that. And then I've got to ask myself, either the way that I used to do it, or the way that I am doing it, or the way that I want to do it with my partner, this interaction or anything, does this actually, what do I really want, and does it actually lead to that? Is that helpful? Is that a helpful approach? Has it worked before? How many times have I tried this approach and it hasn't worked? hasn't led to me feeling happy, hasn't led to them feeling happy. So I want you to think about being in a conscious couple means that I'm really in touch with that. And then I use it as an anchor. I come back to it, come back to these two things. What's actually happening in the present moment, here and now, and from the skin in and the skin out, and what's the actual goal on the deepest level? What do I really want out of this? And getting to that and prioritizing that is a massive, massive upgrade. So the next thing we look at is, if you've done this work with me before, I often talking about these two core things, emotional safety and connection. And we talk about emotional safety first because typically the connection it flowers when you provide the atmosphere of emotional safety. So emotional safety means I acknowledge, respect, and care about your emotions and needs, and I care enough about mine to not use them to hurt you. So we've already done this thing of checking on what's actually happening and what do I want. And another way of saying that internally is what am I feeling and what do I need? And although I initially directed you to what you ultimately want, which is happiness, which is very helpful, you also will create more emotional safety if I get to what's the actual basic human need here. Because I don't actually physically need them to pick the towel up, do I? What I actually physically deeply need is to have a sense that they are also conscious and care about me. And I'm making the towel on the ground mean that maybe they don't in some way. So I just want to make sure I want to get down to it. And then when I express myself, I want to do that in a way where I'm talking about those feelings and those needs rather than the towel and how that means that they're a shit person, or they might be thinking that I'm a nag because I'm always asking about the towel and the towel doesn't matter to them. So if we can create this thing where both you and me are acknowledging, respecting, caring about each other's emotions and needs and not weaponizing them and using them against each other, the more we lean towards that, you don't have to do it perfectly, we're just turning up the volume on it, then what's happening is it becomes more emotionally safe. And then what flowers, the more that volume gets turned up and the longer it's turned up for, is that we get connection. And the basics of that is connection means the door of my heart is open to you. So I want you to think physically. I want you to think physically, emotionally, spiritually, not intellectually. I want you to think that this is really about that I'm with you, I feel you, I see you. And when we come out of that, we run into trouble. So if I go back to what I really want is happiness, and that the next layer of that is that I want to be with you, connected. I want to be safe. So I don't want to hurt you or for you to hurt me. And I want to be connected, which is I want to feel with you. I want to feel you, and I want to see you. So I want you to reflect either with your partner or yourself and write some stuff down. When do we normally feel connected? What's actually going on physically and emotionally in the moment? So you might, might be a memory, might be way long ago in your honeymoon period, it might be yesterday, it might be right now. If you are feeling connected right now, it's the same inquiry. What's actually happening that creates that on a physical level? What are we doing with our bodies? Are we touching? Are we close? Are we facing each other? How's our posture? How's our breath? And on an emotional level, what's the emotional climate that's there when we are connected? So that other trick, we go into the mind, we go into the past, we go into the future, and then we butt heads on that and feel disconnected. So we're dropping that and we're coming down to this. and starting there. So I'm raising conscious awareness. I'm understanding the stuff about me and myself that each other don't know and can grow in. I'm not using emotions as weapons. And I'm opening the door of my heart to being with you, feeling you, seeing you in a physical, emotional way. And we can and will talk about other stuff, but everything else that happens goes better, smoother, when we're dealing with the actual thing first. And so my definition of conscious couples and what this whole weekly meeting will be focused on and the different topics we get into is coming back to those as the priority. Turning the volume up, becoming more aware and intentionally becoming more aware and turning towards and living and responding and acting from those foundations. So in a moment, I'm going to stop the recording and stop the slides, and it's an opportunity for you to ask questions, give me concerns, comments, and we'll unpack everything. So I'll just stop that recording now.